Guy's like hitting and running with this lightning sword. Do not want him near the Conqueror, it will kill him. He's disarmable. Nope. Oh, that's awkward. Plan. Killed too, not struck down. Had a 50% chance to be struck down. Okay. Rotates the Conqueror out like a piece of shit. Breaks doggo. Yeah, it's fine. Doggo is unneeded. Yeah.
Welcome back.
Filthy 7.
Filthy 7. You citrus guy. Welcome back. Are you alive? Just keep moving him back. He's gonna go there, probably. Sure. Want him there. I'm gonna go kill. That maybe. Didn't kill that somehow. Who's got a reach weapon for me? You do. I don't want Viper taking Conqueror hits. Yeah, it's disturbingly small number of pikes dropping. I don't understand. Got a lot of pikemen from there. Oh, I eat a hit here. I didn't need to eat. Oh, no. Melee, I guess. Go there. I'll piss it off. Don't have a shield out. Don't have a shield equipped. Only at 85. Super excited by that. Bit better. I block this guy? No, not really. What is this thing at? Field walled. My stun feels bad. Wait. Wait. Miss my second attack on a only a 58, I guess. Attacking the wrong target, great. I want a shield. I have a shield available. Yeah. A lot of backtracking. Oh well. Is your close one? Sucks. Hey. Easy 95 miss. Okay. Lightning sword affected by duelist or double grip? I mean, the sword is, the lightning isn't. Lightning double grip maybe. The duelist doesn't affect lightning at all. Thanks, Barhonius. Yes, Hayakim was a pretty monster throughout this playthrough. It's amazing how well Raizusai ended up doing, considering how like questionable his roles were to begin with. What did I do to Lumberloa? Like, why did he do nothing here? He's 106 attack. There's no reason he should have performed so fucking poorly in this fight, but he absolutely did. All right. KB Hilarity struck down with a partly collapsed lung. Hayakim killed. You know why he died too? Because we have Surgeon. He died because he lost the finger. All the way back in the beginning of the playthrough. All right, chat. We're gonna do a debrief of this run in a minute. But let me first take care of selling out. Got to make sure I'm able to keep doing this for a living. So give me a second. We got a minute bounty we're gonna take care of right now. Let's do it. All right. Play has no limits. All right. Thanks, guys. Appreciate it. All right, and one last one, which is all right. One last one, which is that my team has partnered with Nord VPN. And quick couple points about that. If you want to try it, you get a 30-day money-back guarantee. You get access to region-locked things like Netflix and Disney and the like. And that you can support my stream through supporting them. All right. Let's grab our gear. Grab the Emperor's armor. At least I don't have to fucking repair it. 400 HP. Really, I think the PS5 looks really good, guys. I've never been very interested in consoles before, but I'm considering if I can figure out stuff that I want to stream on there. All right, grab that. And magical armor. Okay, that is the last famed location in this run. Did lose Lion. KB Hilarity is pretty much... Actually, you know what? The funny part is this wound doesn't affect KB Hilarity at all, because he's already a 0 stam. So giving up 40% of his usable fatigue, he's already over 20. It makes no difference whatsoever. So that's not even a wound that affects us. That's another really nice part about the 0 stam builds, is they're so resilient to wounds. There's so many wounds they can take that don't wipe them out entirely. Archers were pretty weak in the fight. Shit, I didn't see the damage. Anyone have a damage print screen for me? I don't know even if I went there. If someone can grab a screen cap of the damage screen, I'd really like to look at that. Yeah. Alright, we're going to debrief a little bit on... I gotta go pee again, so we're going to go do that right now. I'm going to go do that anyways. I'm not bringing you guys for that. But after that, we're going to have a quick look at the builds that we ran, the things we would do different, the stuff that worked, the stuff that didn't work, and figure out what our next run is going to be. So, other than that, we did with this run with gladiators, and I wasn't sure I was going to be able to do all of the locations with these builds, but it worked just fine, quite honestly. Which is we did Monolith, Goblin City, Kraken, Watermill, Witch Coven, and Sunken Temple with the same 12 brothers. Only lost one out of that, and that was Lion, who we kind of sacrificed tank there. I think, honestly, for good measure, right? Like, Monolith, you really do get a lot of benefit out of sacrifice tanking like that. Because what you do is you control those priests. There's 3 priests that spawn in the north, the undead priests, and they just pound your line with stuns and miasma. So having all of that be centered on one brother as opposed to 4 or 5 brothers is really big. So him standing up there and like lasting those rounds was just really good. But it tends to be a sacrifice tank strategy because he almost never makes it out of there. So, oh yeah, and Izurok, of course. I mean, we're wearing Izurok gear. But I don't really consider that a legend. I mean, it technically is a legendary fucking location, I guess, but it's not really a legendary fight. It's a really, really easy fight. Okay, I will be back in just a moment. I'm gonna pee, and then we'll debrief on builds. So I will see you guys shortly. Okay. I feel like I forgot something. My pants? I don't know. Anyways. So, oh, thank you very much, Nobu.
You have returned.
We have so many things to talk about if we want to talk about things, but let's just take a quick peek at this screen first. Thank you, hey guy. What's up? Thank you, Lemma Von Zorn, for the resub for 17 months. Cheers, guys, both of you. All right, you guys see this one? Yeah, okay. So this is the one we wanted here. All right, so damage looks like, I mean, Lassafras did nearly nothing in that fight. His biggest contribution to that fight was
expands. Praise the sub.
Brando Calrissian. Thank you very much for the sub. Lassafras' biggest contribution to that fight was tanking the Savants and keep them off my archers for a while. That was fine. He threw some holy waters, but they didn't do a lot, quite honestly. Yep, just activate the scam train. Rice doing pretty good damage at 1200 there with the mace. Maces are excellent in this fight. Raizusai just destroying this fight with the watermill sword as a sword duelist already. Sword duelist probably not adding too much to that, but just really nice. It's just a sweet weapon in this fight. Where else would I see high amounts of damage? Exoften doing pretty good damage. Just a lot of our basic two-handers doing fine. Look how depressing Lumbaloa's shots are. It's because he missed so many. I was really expecting him to steamroll, since that mace one-shots Ancient Undead. And he had 105 attack going into that. But he just rolled poorly and didn't do shit for damage. TB Hilarity dying fairly early. And Hayakim tanking a fair amount. I wish it showed how many hits he tanked, because he dodged so many hits. He died to a combination of miasma and fast adaptation through the Emperor, which is almost always what kills the lone wolf tank like that, right? So, I don't know. Not too surprising. The archer's doing moderate damage, but not a ton. There's a lot of rounds where they sit disabled. I wish I could figure out... Actually, I don't even know if I care. I guess if I were speedrunning this, I would look for a slightly different engagement, figure out where how to optimally engage into that. And I feel like I probably want Berserk in this fight on more people, even though the zero stamps really aren't going to be able to do it. So, 16 kills in Raizusai. Yeah, it's not fucking around, is it? But I don't know what the hell these kills are, though. Add this up. Does it get... I mean, let's see. 22, 23, 25, 29, 35, 37, 40. It does add up. I was sort of worried it wasn't adding up to the actual number of enemies there. So, anyways. Is this the end of the run? I'm going to end it here, Ravon. I mean, you can go on forever, but we've completed every legendary location in the game, as well as two of the, I can't even remember right now, final crises. We're going to start another run. I don't think there's more to go on. So, all right. So let's drop the Chrome window. Seems fine for now. Thank you, Nobu, for grabbing that screen cap, by the way. All right. So, things that went really well this run. Gladiators was a cool start. I liked 2 of the 3 Gladiator unique backgrounds were really interesting. They did different things. Bear, so I guess I should do this on the... Let me fire up the build sheet. We'll talk about it there. We'll do it via spreadsheeting. So, we can have this discussion. You did get a hat. You got the fanciest, hardest to get hat in the fucking game. You got the goddamn assassin's face mask. So, let's not be complaining about hats. Yeah, it took a while to get, it took a couple of starts to get going on Gladiators. Let me see if I can pull this over. Where's my build sheet, bounding board, raffle system? There it is, build sheet. Okay, so let's take a look at these builds and talk about this. All right. This was good. It didn't scale incredibly well, but it was good throughout the game. It was very good early. And to be fair, the Bear's stats don't scale throughout the game. He doesn't have good enough melee attack and melee defense to be a very powerful late game brother, but you still lose if you lose all 3 of your gladiators. And early game, he carries like a monster. This was the flail spec Bear, which was fine. Flails are what they've always been. They're very good early versus raiders, and they suck the entire rest of the game, pretty much. There were some kind of bright spots with flails that I hadn't thought about that came out in this playthrough. The 3-headed flail was excellent versus necro savants. Both because it was a way to kill them through the 9 lives proc, as well as a lot of times they were low HP and running no head armor, so you could force those shots. That was fine. He basically became a kind of off tank a little bit later, and it was unique. It was something different, right? With his HP tanking stuff, that was totally different. And there was a lot of benefit in that. He wore weird armor, which meant that I could utilize weird armor. He absorbed damage in a different way. Oftentimes people would be incentivized to attack him because he was out of armor and had low HP, or out of armor, doesn't have large amounts of effective HP, and not particularly high melee defense. So that was pretty cool. Would a unique Liberty Shield improve survival chances to hold off Conqueror? I mean, sure, Daze is a damage reduction, so sure. What else? Didn't mind that. I would have liked to find Pathfinder on there, but I'm not sure where you're going to get it. I can't think. Looking through this, nothing in here comes out. Maybe flail spec. Maybe just don't weapon spec him. He could do not weapon spec. But then, I mean, you lose all the advantage of flail, right? Which was what we were using it for, which was to ignore shield bonuses to deal with his low attack and kill raiders. Kill raiders' skulls, which was very fun. Steel Brow was essential on this build, in my opinion. I ran him with a 0 helmet the entire game, so I could run more body armor, so he could just take more hits. Kind of synergized really nicely with Cook as well, since we ran Cook most of the game. I'm going to get to my Retinue in a minute. Retinue was very interesting too. I liked this build. I was happy with this build. I don't know if I liked Resilient enough that I'd take it again. This one is really questionable. It was okay. It felt useful occasionally, but can we dismiss this? Thanks. But it was a little bit weak. It's just a weak perk, right? Indom and Duelist were fine. I don't know about Duelist. Indom was fine. So I guess this would... Actually, what I should do is this. I should Indom that, and then color code that for good, and then put this as questionable, which was Duelist and Resilient. Duelist is Armor Pen, and Armor Pen is not something that's relevant if you're attacking someone with no head armor. And I wasn't just attacking people with no head armor, I was attacking people with low head armor too, but Duelist might not have been needed there. And if I could have dropped something to pick up something for Duelist, that would have been pretty good. Recover was kind of medium too on him. It was useful when I was flailing raiders' skulls to death, and not useful very much at all afterwards. So that's probably kind of questionable too. And of these, no Underdog was pretty big deal. I wonder if this would be like that. What was this? Underdog, Killing Frenzy. What was the other one I just deleted? Oh, Pathfinder, right. So maybe an argument for dropping Duelist for Underdog, for example, would be something I might change with that. I do want to see this Nobo. I'm gonna click this link and see. You have? Oh, I thought that was season 2. I'm like, oh my god, I don't even remember season 2. Nice. All right. So Pathfinder, I think Pathfinder was surprising. I'm gonna talk. I don't know how in depth do we want to do with this. Okay. So that build was good. I would probably make this. I would probably run this just slightly differently if I ever did Gladiator again. I can't imagine playing Gladiator again, but if I did, I would do it like that. I can't imagine playing again because it seemed like the most powerful start, and we did it on Iron Man, extra hard with lots of ease, and it was fine. Like, you know, it just takes a little bit longer to get started, and then the same fucking run basically, right? So, don't know why Underdog would not be in a tank build anyway, because I don't want to assume your intelligence from that statement, so I'm going to struggle against my natural impulse, which is because you have a limited number of perks, you brilliant man. So, man, I don't understand why you wouldn't have all the... Anyways, let's just move on. I'm not going to let it trigger me. I'm gonna try to get past that moment. All right, Lion was my least favorite gladiator, which is unfortunate. I mean, it doesn't make any sense for him to be the least favorite gladiator because he has the best stats of a gladiator going in. The problem was he didn't have quite enough stam to really... I wanted to build him as a fucking duelist, right? I wanted to build him as a DPS duelist and just like delete things, which is what I feel like your gladiator's got to be huge, right? In early game, the bear deletes raiders, and then he's also the guy you can put in the shitty positions, and he's really good at fighting all the gladiators are very good at fighting the early arena fights, right? So Lion was excellent overall stats, but not quite enough stam to just go ape shit with like the stam builds, right? So the whip cleaver control was good, and I actually, looking at this, I wouldn't change it. It's just his particular perk is really not flashy. The double resolve roll thing. I wish there was like an icon that popped up when it happened, so I could be like, shit, look at that perk paying off. Like, it happens a lot in the fight. You just don't visually see it, so you're not aware of it. And I think he probably carried the game for us, right? We only had one whip in the early game, and he had the melee attack to actually use it, and we did things like dagger down fallen heroes that were dangerous, fight orc berserkers super early. You know, every single leader we fought, we disarmed. It lets us do a lot of things, but it's just not flashy. So I'm pretty happy with this build. I don't think I'm changing much on it, really, honestly, from looking at it. You need recover just for the times where you stand out doing it. You might actually be able to get away with underdog, taking away underdog on him. It's a little bit weird to say it because not really what you want to be doing for the early game. But past the early game, I tend to leave my whip in the back because a lot of the times you just need to be able to move freely to get to the target to disarm, and you're not too worried about getting the attacks off. And this is kind of why it bothered me to use the lion for this again, because although both these builds were super strong like this early game, they both stopped scaling very well mid to late game because this guy's got godlike attack. I think he was like at 110 with a wound that reduced melee attack or something insane, right? Like just stupid amounts of attack. And I wasn't utilizing him to kill shit, and that kind of annoyed me. He might be a very good candidate for a respec potion, or if you do the library and then actually waste your time buying a cultist or buying a historian, like getting some extra perks so he could fight other things. But this build was super strong. And you have to have, I think I basically want 2 of these. Was Berserk worth it on the bear? Yeah, I think it was. He does a lot of indom spamming, which means that he ends up stamming out eventually, and being able to kill something with an attack, often by forcing headshots and then recovering immediately, was kind of nice. And it's just good in the early game, right? Like, think about the gladiator start, right? The gladiator gives you some powerful brothers to begin with, but you have to struggle a little bit to build the rest of your roster out. So I don't mind building the gladiators to be strong early game carries and a little bit weaker than they potentially could be full on out in the late game, because the challenge is the early game with them, right? Is getting the team established. So I thought this was an excellent build overall. I was really, really pleased with this build. It just wasn't flashy. Viper was another one like this. Honestly, all 3 of them kind of did that, and we kind of built them for that way. I was surprised how little I thought of this dagger by the end of the game. It was incredible early game. In late game, it was okay. The Viper's ability, I think it synergizes nicely with the Viper. I don't know, again, I'm not sure I have a better option for this except find a fucking famed one, you know? Like, finding a famed one might have been like the difference between it being kind of meh in the late game versus, I'll answer that question in a minute, versus, whatever, versus the early game, right? So, I don't know if I said that correctly. This build was very strong early game. Getting early daggers was good. This was particularly good for daggering shit down, like in terms of stealing their armor, but it was also very nice to be so mobile, right? Your attack only costing 3 AP, plus getting AP back randomly whenever you killed shit, made them so there was so many times they're on target. And the dagger's okay late game. It doesn't do anything versus orc warriors, but it's fine versus orc young. It's fine versus unholds. It's okay versus chosen. It was fine. Again, this was another build that worked really well early and didn't scale super hard late, which was a little bit surprising. And maybe if I got a famed dagger for Viper, for Bryce, it would have, which would have been pretty cool. Do the new lowborn background? Maybe. Oh, you're asking, does the new lowborn backgrounds make militia origin more viable? No. It's not a good background. It's not a good enough background. It doesn't make the militia more viable at all. So, I mean, if I look at this early game carry build, yeah, this is like early game raider farmer plus tank plus late tank. Like this, pretty much what it was. This was, how do I want to set this up? I guess I don't have to put stats for this, right? This was pretty good, actually. Early whips win runs. Early whip wins runs. Yeah. Plurals are weird there. Okay. And late game perk candidate. Late game Oblivion / library candidate to like make them a much higher damage dealer. I think probably late game, especially if you, I focused mixed more HP on this, but if I had like really worked on stam, we might have been able to get a duelist out of that late game. Oh. Gallery of Heroes. No, but you've been taking screenshots of your character with the most amount of hats on them? How come it's just 7 screenshots of the same fucking hat? Guess we have a favorite. Oh, and he, yeah. Candidate, like that, right? Okay. Anyways. Alright. Alright. So this was pretty good. I liked all 3 of those builds. I'm happy with them. We theory crafted them ahead of time, put them into practice and played through them. I think the only thing I maybe would consider is dropping Resilient. I'm not sure. It's really, again, it's another one of those ones you're never quite sure what the impact was. But it is again, Resilient's pretty helpful early game, right? So maybe it would have been fine to do that differently. I'm not sure if I would do that again. So, okay. How are the thrower gun? This did not need recover. So recover, we can absolutely drop recover. So where would I put that? This would be... recover needs to be red there because recover just was not good. We don't need recover. Darker than I want that. Kind of reddish, orangey. There you go. I don't know what we would take here. Guns were bad. Well, that's not true. Fearsome was bad. Guns were okay. I missed my archers, but I didn't miss them. When it was this few, I didn't really miss them. Archers sucked versus nomads. So... Hey, Stransky. I don't know what that means. I'm not sure what we would add here. Crippling. I don't think it's crippling. Maybe it's executioner for the throwing stuff, perhaps. Maybe bags and belts for more throwing stuff. I'd have liked about like that last fight. If I had 2 more racks of fucking throwing axes, that would have been great. Could try overwhelm. I don't know. I didn't like. So what were guns good for? Guns were good for clearing up. They were good for goblins. They were good for attacking into fortifications, kind of, but not exactly, because some of the enemies that use fortifications have reach weapons, and it leaves your archers super vulnerable there. They were all right versus Orc Young. This build was in a 12-man group where you cannot have any people sitting out. I felt like the thrower gun combo was good. I really liked Pathfinder on them. It made a difference for moving, like relocating and then throwing. It was good for like Chosen and like the snow fights, for example. What else? Yeah. So that was okay. The guns were all right versus raiders and all right versus nomads. I mean, that's kind of how the guns felt, right? They felt all right versus a lot of things, but not great versus much of anything. And that's not a super amazing feeling. We did lose our ability to kill Necros, but Necros were not super dangerous this playthrough. Just because really the power of Necros were a combination of Necro possession plus Geist was just devastating. And with having whips to deal with Geist and possession both, that makes a lot easier fight. But I take the gun thrower over standard CSO archer. I love that you call them CSOs. Yeah, the chief science officers. I think in 2-man I would, because I didn't miss. 2 archers isn't enough to stand back. Not really enough to focus something down particularly. Like the trick for archers is like having like 4 of them, or maybe even 5 of them, right? Like then you just like you outshoot goblins, you outshoot raiders, You outshoot nobles. Without that kind of firepower, like without that many, but the problem is you can't use archers in some fights, right? Like 5 archers versus orcs is just death. So in the gladiator run, having 2 of them was fine. The throwers are extremely versatile, and the throwers really unlock chosen as a reasonable fight, and unlock and make undead also. They contribute a lot to undead fights where other archers don't contribute to undead fights. So I think in the gladiator run, Xylo, I would run this. Other than that, I'd want to play more with it to see when I would use one versus the other. But the impact of 1 gun was pretty minimal. The impact of 2 guns was a little bit better. I was okay with this. I liked it. It was nice to do something different with archers. It was nice not to have archers. The downside of this is I had no use for a famed bow. I mean, I actually picked up a pretty sweet famed bow in this playthrough, but couldn't use it. Yeah, I think... You know, I don't know. Maybe 4 gunners are better too, Xylo. I have no idea. Maybe 4 gunners is what turns the tide versus like orcs and you just AoE break them. But certainly, I don't know if I'm ever going back to 4 archers either. Like the fact that all of the content was accessible without 4 archers. I'm not sure we got a really good test of Goblin City since we got such a good spawn. And that was the one I was most worried about for this entire playthrough. Because I wasn't sure what we were going to do about it, but... So, this was okay. The rest of it, the 0 stand was super good. I wouldn't do this one. This one here was not very good. This was just like a weaker 0 stand. Kind of give that whole thing a fucking yellow, honestly. Ended up just being weaker. To be fair, we did it to take a brother with bad melee defense, but it ended up being pretty bad. The nimble tanks do a lot worse than the Battleforge tanks versus the first couple rounds of archer fire that you get when you fight nomads, goblins, everything else, right? They get kind of wrecked, their armor gets destroyed, and then it's hard to put them in a position to do anything. We didn't use a duelist. Well, rather we did. We used 1 duelist this playthrough. Had a sweet sword duelist. I'm okay with everything on the duelist build too, honestly. Our duelist was really good. Our duelist was really good all game long. And was versatile, right? Because with 12 I didn't have dedicated tanks. I had to like take people to make them tanks. We did it with a sword that had minus fatigue cost and recovery, but we could have done it with any of the backgrounds that have huge amounts of stam, farmhand, wildman, hedge knight. We saw no hedge knights in 200 days of playing on this seed, so I guess that's just not an option some of the time. That's kind of where I'm at with duelists. They're a little clunky. They can do a lot of damage, but they only really do a lot of damage if you have a really good weapon for them and plenty of stam to use them. If you're stuck on either of those things, where you're recovering every other fucking round, or your weapon doesn't do a ton of damage, they're just worse than 2-handers. The 2-handers, especially the 0 stam 2-handers, are insanely flexible. They were just good. I don't know, meat and potato. They're just fine. I really like the use of both Battleforge and Nimble in these playthroughs. Were very good. We could basically use any type of gear all the way through the game, which was really nice. Pathfinder's grown on me a lot, and I think that a lot has changed since our initial evaluation of Pathfinder. There's 2 more heavily represented sets of enemies that you're fighting now in the far south and the far north. And the far north is snow, and that's not a big deal mostly for attacking, although it's a little bit. Like, you can't move one-handers 2 tiles in attack, but you can move them where you can with Pathfinder. And you can't move archers 2 tile, but mainly it's the stamina. Like, if you look, a lot of these builds don't have recover on them anymore. And for a while, it was all recover, adrenaline, berserk with, and with the 2-handed builds, like the 2-handed like swords and shit, you didn't need Pathfinder. You could move 1 tile in snow and swing, and that was good enough. So what Pathfinder's kind of doing is it's like a budget recover. Not on the 0 stam build, it's in place of, right? It's in place of, you take Pathfinder in place of leveling stamina or taking recover. But on the other builds, it's kind of like a budget recover. That in the early game, you don't have heavy enough gear, you have plenty of stamina. And the mid game, you start picking up gear, it's a little bit heavier, and you will fatigue out. And when you're fighting on sand, the arena is sand, all the south is sand, all the north is snow. It let me be a lot more flexible with things like fortifications, like moving up and down terrain, so I don't have to be worried about those things. If I'm taking fights in swamp was a lot less scary. Still don't like standing in swamp, but it was a little bit less scary. So it became like a budget recover which I kind of liked, combined with a little bit of AP saved. So I liked it. I think I'm kind of... It was really good, and I feel like that is a combination of our changing our builds and the battleground that we're fighting in changing, right? That's just different than it's ever been before. And there's more and more terrain where you're forced to fucking fight in, because there's a lot of important objectives there, where the stam cost for moving around is very extensive. And if your brothers are stamming out, they're recovering, and if they're recovering, they're not swinging, and that's the big deal with that. So that was pretty good. All right, what else? Yeah, we talked about the... And the banner's good. Anticipate is still really questionable for me. I don't know what goes instead of... what was it? Gifted and what? Recover? I'm really enjoying the high melee attack banners. You're still a little bit fragile on these things, but you're still a little bit fragile on the banner. I don't have a good survivability element for them. They will get focused, especially like we notice it a lot in the far south when we're fighting the late game nomad content. The units that like, they're not cheating, but the units that have insane melee defense and ignore your attacks, and then the ones with footwork, they're always going after, and like orcs do the same thing, they're always going after your banner. But having the banner do something more than just carry a weak damage pike is really nice, and making it your cleaver spec makes a lot of sense. The problem is it slows down your acquisition of a good banner, right? It just takes a while to get someone who has the resolve roll and the melee attack roll. And honestly, like judging from this playthrough, we had a thief with like 35 starting resolve. And because you're not getting rolled on him with Geists, you don't really need the world's best fucking resolve on a banner anymore. You really don't. Because you're not trying to beat morale rolls non-stop. You're basically just needing to rally brothers when they eventually get pushed off by like warlords or like stupid random roll where like your guy fails 3 morale checks when people move next to him and is suddenly broken. You gotta have one for those situations, but mostly what you're really using him for is he's a nimble tank. He's a nimble brother who can take some hits if he has to, who's disarming. And you can kind of see, like, I get stuck a little bit. Like, the cleaver spec becomes that, even if I don't want to. And maybe the cleaver, like, its positioning becomes more important based on what, like, which, like, quality of two-handed cleaver I pick up. Because I picked up 3 two-handed cleavers that were famed this playthrough, and all 3 of them sucked. And, like, and I ended up just using him as a whip. But, anyways. Yeah. So, actually, honestly, I hate to say it, but minus the one build that was kind of like how to take something shitty and make it decent, I was pretty pleased with these builds as a whole, for the gladiator builds. They worked really well for this. And I mean, if you think about it, what you're trying to do with builds, you're trying to make it so brothers who have a lot of stats aren't wasted, and you're trying to make it so that gear that you pick up is utilized to its full. And the only thing these set of builds don't utilize, they don't utilize bows, they don't utilize the mid-range armors, not that I know what they do, and they don't utilize a reach weapon, particularly. I mean, they utilize a lot of reach weapons, but they don't utilize reach pikes and reach sword lances and reach something else. So, this playthrough, we had a lot of axe brothers and not a lot of mace brothers, and I think I'm going to keep that. I like reach axes, and I don't like reach maces. I don't really like reach hammers either. And you start running into stam problems if you're stuck with that. So the reach axes were pretty good damage as a whole. The famed maces are so good, but the non-famed maces are only okay in my opinion. So how many low stam? So the breakdown for us, I guess I could put that somewhere. Hold on, let me just... Okay. Trying to think about I'm going to leave this up. Ended up times 1 times 1 times 1 times 2, and then this was a so I guess it's like you're running the 3 clean brothers, the 2 archers is 5, the 3 starting brothers, the 2 brothers is 5, the banner is 6, the duelists are maybe call it 8 realistically. You're looking at about 4. It's about 4 to 5 of these. What you're looking for those. And I've got to figure out what I'm going to do about that. Maybe it's I'm not rolling enough on farmhands after they got a stat nerf somewhere, and I haven't rolled on them anywhere near as much anymore, and they used to be one of my favorite backgrounds. And maybe it's because we just didn't see Hedge Knights, and maybe it's because we didn't see a lot of Wildmen. We saw a fair amount this playthrough, but no good rolls, no good stat rolls. Or maybe it's because we spend a lot of time in the south, especially with teleporting around to the arena, that is just accessible, right? When you're in the south, you get southern recruits, and you get thieves, because thieves are awesome. Thieves make incredible, they made a good Goblin Banner, and they make incredible Zero Stam brothers too. And we see a lot of nomads who start with low stam, and you see gladiators who are low stam, and you see sellswords who are low stam in the southern cities. So maybe it's part of where we're at for that. But I had a very hard time building Duelisk. I didn't see anyone with good amounts of fatigue. Assassins are good, yeah, and the assassins too. Consider ever giving your frontline guns? Maybe. YO linked me a character who had like gun and two-handed axe build essentially. But anyways, so I liked these builds. I thought this went reasonably well as a playthrough as a whole. We've lost very few people during this. I mean, we utilized some strategies too to help with that. Things like the runners in the beginning, early game, and then things like iron tax a little bit later. But pretty good. So. I don't care about old experimental sub. Okay. So these were the builds. The builds went reasonably well. Anything else to talk about for this? Retinue is probably a good one to talk about. Let's talk about Retinue a little bit. I settled on these 5. There's some that I would like to have done differently, and I have some plans for them. Surgeon seems fine. Have to get a strong sense of that. It's a little bit better on gladiators because you have no reserves, but it's not that great. -1 day injuries was nice for stupid shit like, oh, our drunk viper falls and hurts their head right before I want to do monolith for 3 days or something stupid. But this wasn't incredible. I really like Cook, and I actually like the first part more than I like the second part. The increased healing rate, it's hard to notice, but it is definitely impactful. When you're running Nimble Brothers, part of how you tank is you lose HP, so the rate at which you increase HP is really good for taking lots of fights at once. But once you get the Easy Rock armor, you can kind of cheat around that a little bit by rotating their positions in fights, especially easy to medium fights, where you can stick a Nimble Brother in the back and give him the Easy Rock helm, and he'll full HP heal by the end of the fight, which is really good. But really generating food out of all the camps you encounter makes it so you can go on forever. And that's really good. It means when you dive into the wilds, you can stay in the wilds, which I really, really liked. Scout, and the Scout, again, hard to tell what the hell it's doing with that. Preventing sickness and accidents due to terrain is nice. Moving faster is just fucking clutch. I like Lookout a lot. I like BAME to read the footprints. It really helps me when I'm hunting specific things, which is really, really nice. And it lets you backtrack really nicely. Because if you're hunting if you see raiders pop out, and you're like, well, raiders, I don't give a shit. But if you see tracks show up and you see them going backwards and you're like, well, what are these tracks and where are they bringing me? Like, I don't know. It's just helpful. It's just helpful. I like the sight radius. Like, it let me found. Wow. It let me found. Does that work? It let me find. Thank you for the 3rd time on that. Let me find a lot of camps that I was looking for that I couldn't find otherwise, and let me get famed items because of that. Thanks. Yeah, I was fighting with that a little bit, chat. Bounty Hunter's okay. The 300 to 700, I didn't notice this. I do notice Cartographer. I like Cartographer early. I wish I could drop Scout, and you can after, or Lookout rather. You can drop Lookout after you have done your first sweep of the map in all likelihood. Once you have found the famed locations that you're looking for and you've found the major spawns, after that it's just like how much time do you want to spend out there. But initially it's very, very helpful. And getting rid of her for things like the ones that I'm interested in, this one seems like it could be really cool. I don't know when you're ever going to visit 22 settlements early, but Tavern Rumors, like triangulating legendaries sounds, or famed rather, sounds super fun. Cartographer's really good early, but I like getting rid of them. I don't care about Negotiator. Recruiter, we were swapping in and out for Recruiter. This was less useful in Gladiator with the run where we weren't having a lot of attrition because there's just less people to recruit, but that can be very good as well. I don't like Scavenger. I haven't used them at all, so maybe that's part of it. Like, I just never, like, I always want to. I always look at these bonuses and I'm like, that would be good. but it's never quite as good as the other things I could get right then. Drill Sergeant seems strong for like rushing, leveling, but I don't really care that much. And then the one I'm really interested that we didn't use, Blacksmith is really less relevant. The way I armor swap, it tends to be not that relevant at all. But the one I'm really interested in was this one, the Agent, because I think realistically I will never have allied or noble house or allied relations with a noble house or city state. I don't think I'll ever have this ever. But if I could get this unlocked, I think this would be super fucking sweet, because I think this is how you do late game caravans, right? Which is if you can see contracts from outside of the city on the map, then what you can do is you're gonna be looking to generate cargo missions and get famed items that way, which would be pretty cool. So like maybe like a caravan start with like Agent, and then you try to just get your stuff through trading and money. Maybe, I don't know. That could be kind of cool. But this was the one I wanted to put in, especially late game. Yeah, me neither. That's what I'm saying, Nikolai, is like, missions are something you do in the early game because you don't have any choice, and there's something you do in the late game when they generate a very specific enemy, right? And other than that, you don't want to do them. You'd rather be busting camps. It's better pay, it's better money, it's better gear, it's more fun. Like, farming reputation in this game seems insane to me. So this just might not be good enough to do because it's locked behind such a ridiculous investment of time. So all right, so that was the retinue I ended up with. Anything else to talk about? I like the Sunken Temple a lot as a location. It's doable, it's fun. There's a element of like, oh fuck, there's a little bit of RNG to it, but it doesn't seem like insane. The fight is interesting. It's a little bit different behavior than pretty much any fight you're going to be doing. There's a fair amount of decisions in it. I hate the Black Book sequence though, because especially in Gladiator, you don't have room in your with people to convert the Black Book into loot. And I'm tired of famed locations with shitty loot. Like Goblin City gives me a hat that's useless. Gives me a hat that is a 400 hat for 20, which is good, but it's not so good that I'm that excited about it. And the rest of it may as well not have text on it. The Black Monolith gives me this. 400 for 30 is okay, I guess. I mean, not even that great, honestly. Like when I look at like this one, this is not this one. Where's my other, this one? No, where's my fucking 377? That like high roll one was really nice. Where is it? There. This is 377 for 37. So I guess this is very light for the 400, but fuck. Like, that I'm never going to play the game after that. What is the point of like going to Black Monolith and getting an item that's an armor that's a slight upgrade over my other armor for fighting fucking Black Monolith? Which is like always the last thing I do. So like, it's just really unexciting loot from that. Kraken, unexciting loot. Watermill, it has one use, that sword. You're already crushing Ancient Undead. Ancient Undead are the enemy that has scaled the least well with all the expansions, in my opinion. And you already crush Ancient Undead. So like the sword is excellent in Monolith, but other than that, you don't care. So that's 3 famed locations where I don't give a shit. Compare that to the Izhirok. The Izhirok armor is like the most overpowered shit in the game. Like, it's so good. You use it to heal brothers who are wounded in previous fights so you can fight more often. You use it to sustain a miasma. You use it to, you can spread it across 2 brothers, so like you have 2 people who heal every round. It's just incredibly good fucking armor. And if your brothers die wearing it, you get it back because it's legendary as opposed to famed. And it's like, why can't I have like, and you get it early. The Izhirok is an easy fight. You have 2 different events, one which gives you a guaranteed fame cleaver, and the next one gives you this armor set, and they're both really doable early. And that makes fun because like, imagine like Black Monolith was a mid-game fight and Goblin City the same thing, right? Where you're incentivized to push your brothers to get there as soon as possible to pick up some game-changing loot that you can get out of it. That would be really fun. As it is right now, it's like I finish these locations and I'm done. And it's true of almost all of the famed locations. So Sunken Temple being accessible fairly early seems kind of cool to me, but fuck, I hate that if you rushed it, you would have to rush it, and now you have the additional problem of, well, I'm going to rush it with the historian or rush it with the cultist. So I guess maybe it's fine in like larger backgrounds where like you have more rooms, you can take up one scrub guy, but it's kind of annoying. So it kind of bugged me a little bit for that. What else for this run? We tried a lot with the potion stuff is really interesting too. I don't have any in my inventory right now, but the potions make the fame locations easier, noticeably so. Especially the stamina regen potions. That's by far the best. But like, I like that there's situational uses for the other ones, right? You probably want to fight Goblin City at night, so getting night vision potions are cool. Having your like suicide tank be able to run the potion that makes it so he doesn't take wounds is kind of cool. I don't know if the initiative potion has any use, but maybe it's like a damage boost. There seems to be a pretty high penalty for the addiction stuff for the potions, but it's still kind of cool. But I liked having that. It was nice to invest in something and like have it pay off in these moments that are harder. Grenades are dead. They're like so bad it's not even remotely funny, except for smoke pots, which are really good. These are essentially these are a slightly worse. It's having like 3 or 4 of these on your inventory is really good. It's worse than having rotate on everybody, but it doesn't cost you a perk, which is crazy. So you get a perk back in all your builds, which is so good. So that's really, really, really nice overall for me. So I like the potion change too. It's pretty sweet. But other than that, let's see. I'm still using the same armor attachments, which are the unhold stuff on my nimble and the anti-penetration stuff on my Battleforge. I'm not even convinced Battleforge is playable without this armor. It's so bad. It's such a bad armor set to have in general, because it doesn't actually keep your brothers alive for shit. But this padding makes it bearable. So I enjoyed that too. Same stuff there. What else? We fought a fair amount of Hexen this playthrough. They're not getting any easier. I have slightly higher resolve builds. We actually resisted some Hexen casts. It seemed to be a difference of between 40 and 50 actually seemed to be pretty relevant for resisting this. Oh. You guys have other questions for me about this run? Or should we start thinking about future playthroughs? These shields are busted. I kind of hate them. They're really good, but they make orc shields pointless now. Because this is better than that. Really similar number of hits to kill in terms if they want to break the shield, but these are more accessible, way less, and are useful versus range and melee at better rate than the orc shields. It kind of bums me out that the heavy metal shields are less good, because it also makes the famed orc shields less good too, because you just most of the time are happy with running these shields. That's my way to evaluate which camp to do for famed items. I mean, fame rate goes up farther from town. You just want to clear out. You just want to clear big camps, man. That's how you get famed items. Should I drop Battleforge altogether? No, I want to be able to utilize all the armor drops I get in the game, and half the armor drops are Battleforge armor drops essentially. And the Nimble does a very bad job of tanking orc cleavers in particular. And mostly that. Possible to finish Battle Brothers via trading? No. It's not a game you win by accumulating money. Yeah. Hardest barbarian camps are not that bad. I think the late game nomads are harder than the late game barbarians. Like the chosen camps are like, you get to a point when you unlock throwers, and once you have throwers going in a decent front line with decent stats, you can beat chosen camps fairly reliably with pretty low risk. The combination of disarm plus throwers plus well, mostly those disarm and throwers really helps with barbs. Do assassin robes stack with bone plating 2 free hits? Why do you think assassin robes have a free hit on them? They just weigh 120. They don't have any free. There's no like damage ignore on this. Right? Like, am I missing something about assassin robes? No. Yeah. You Mahmood thick booty for the resub. Normal 2-handed build still viable? I don't know. Lying dog-faced pony soldier. I think if you had a famed 2-handed weapon, you probably would like to fit a berserk build in it. And it's probably competing directly with your duelists to do that. I don't know. I didn't have a use for that in this playthrough, so maybe. Like, especially I'm thinking like a famed sword. Like if you pick up a nice two-handed famed sword, there's no two-handed reach sword. So the two-handed build is a little bit worse with that. So it'd be interesting. How do you handle armored unholds? You park somebody who's nimble with the shield in front of them, preferably at least 2, and you stand there. And if your guys who are not that and you indom, and if your guys who are not that person get stuck next to an armored unhold, you wait till the unhold punches you once and knocks you away, and then you run away from the unhold. That's how you handle them. You don't ever do damage to them until the end. In the early game, if you're really struggling with barb camps, early game to like kind of get into them, pull unholds into barb camps. Nomad dancers are nuts. Yes, they really are. The assassins are pretty nuts too. Probably doing it wrong with Chosen. Took last playthrough it took us last expansion it took us a little while to adapt to Chosen. All right. Any other final questions, thoughts about this playthrough? All right, Nobi, you ready? What are we doing? How do you feel about the Coliseum? Oh, the arena. Arena is really, really, really powerful. It's actually... So there's two conflicting problems with the arena, right? It brings you back to a single location that you don't necessarily want to be at very often. And it's simultaneously the best source of income for especially the Gladiator start, but particularly the Gladiator start. And it gives you permanent stats on your brothers. So you really want to fight if you could, you would do arena every single day. Or rather, you would do arena twice back to back every other day, right? Because you really would like plus 10 stats on all of your brothers. Like 10 stats is a lot. That's more than gifted. It's essentially a free perk point. And yeah, it's all resolve, but both of the bonuses are good. The bonus where you only 50% of the time die is actually really, really relevant for the zero stand brothers. So that is, that's kind of where I'm at for the arena. I would love to have gotten, that was the other thing we didn't actually get to in this tournament. We didn't get to fight one of the arena tournaments, right? So, we did see an arena tournament, but not in this playthrough, not late enough in this playthrough. So tournaments are brutal. Yeah, I would have liked to have seen one in the late game. We saw one spawn early game, but like early game tournaments are death, right? And you can't really beat early game. You can't beat tournaments until you have throwers because you end up with enemies that are immune to melee attacks or strong enough versus melee attacks that they may as well be immune. I don't really like that mechanic because you're just like, as a new player or like a player who hasn't seen that content, you're just surprised by it and it ends your run. You either alt F4 or end your run, and those are your options because the fucking sword masters with 80 plus melee defense will just kill all your guys. So. That's not a particularly great thing overall for us, from my perspective. So, yeah. So I don't know. I enjoyed this playthrough a lot. A lot of new content that we checked out here. This map was an interesting map seed. It's Necros. Wait, in the sense that the map was super bad early, but the brothers were kind of cool, and they had a lot of unique different things going on with them, and they were pretty cool. I don't think I'd bother with a drunk huge Viper again. It just isn't relevant. The drunk huge Viper was kind of overrated, honestly. Like it didn't scale even with that, so probably just better to get a fame. There you go, Nibu. You ready? There's your screen cap. What is that move? That move kills you.
A kind gesture.
Geisterman says, thanks. Thanks for the donation, man. $26. Cheers. Oh, someone wanted my save for this? Alright. I can probably make a copy of this. I don't know where I'm going to host it, but maybe we can add it. I don't know. I could probably put it on the Discord or something. Sure. It kills me that we had the gladiator build and we had the fucking book. This was the first legendary location we did, and we did it probably, what, a week ago? 4 days ago? 5 days ago? And we were not able to go ahead and get extra perks on our brothers or get the shield. That's ridiculous. It seems like such an oversight to me. Especially since you're going to introduce two new backgrounds realistically, and one of them just doesn't get the black book. Makes no sense. Why introduce those in the same patch? Alright. Yeah, I hate to do this, but I'm not starting a new run today. So I might be finishing up here today. Most OP way to use those two perks? Take a very late game brother and add 2 more damage perks on him. I don't know. I bet you duelist really would like a couple more perks too. We always struggle with the number of perks on a duelist. Play the Spire, TFT. Maybe. Maybe I'll relax and just end the stream. What do you guys think? Peace. I had a lot of fun with Hades, but I don't think I'm going to be playing that stream right now. Oh, we're going to do a new run. I guess we could talk briefly about what the next new run is going to be. All right, what do we want for the next campaign? So here's where my head's at with this. It's going to be really painful. This start here looks super bad. Everything about it is bad. It looks tedious. Whipping is a tedious mechanic. It's difficult to track how long you have on that buff. The buff is pretty much necessary. Your brothers suck. They don't get veteran levels. They don't get better. It's a swarm mechanic, which I don't particularly like. It's just not a very fun start. Now, I haven't really done a militia start, which is kind of like a slightly better manhunter start, but they seem very similar. Could do that. Maybe you can get 1,000 fucking gunners on that. Maybe they'd be good at that level, but I doubt it. Alternatively, I don't know. What would be... I'm a little interested in doing Davcool again, which might be a lot of fun with... I think the issue is the Davcool armor is so late to get. Apparently it's day 200 to get Davcool armor. But this might be fun with the stamina regeneration granted through the events. I just remember this being a bitch, like to going. That's one of the ones I'm a little interested in. I'm a little bit interested into it. Oh, there's something else though. The beast stuff is really annoying. I hate how much crap it spams your inventory with. You're incentivized to hold on to it for taxidermist stuff, but you're also incentivized to get rid of it because you need your inventory space. And it's just really clunky interface. I mean, to hire good guys really does kill the fun. And especially since last playthrough I was unable to hire any hedge knights, really kind of annoyed me. Monster parts auto stack. Yep. I really think there should be just like some sort of separate inventory for beast parts, right? That would be really, really, really nice. Yeah, maybe you get a retinue that does it. Something. I don't know. It's just really, really unpleasant to carry around that much garbage and have to hunt so many different beasts. The beasts are like, they're boring. They're generally fairly tedious fights. They're generally fairly, like, especially the late game beasts, like fighting like Shrats. It's just a really unpleasant fight, right? Non-movable stash would be fine. Yep. Anyways, chat. No, I think I'm gonna call it here today. Maybe I don't know. Do we run a poll? Any other good ideas that are unique? I got to be careful with this because I've just been playing this now, what, 2 months basically? And I got to be really careful about burning out on these because I hit walls in games like super hard. And when I hit the wall, I'm like, I'm done. So I got to be a little bit careful with that. So the stuff that keeps me going is doing things differently. The gladiator stuff with the arena start was really fun. It was different. I liked the builds. We had a lot of new builds with that. We got 3 unique builds for gladiators because there were 3 specific gladiators, and that was kind of cool. Like, there were a lot of really nice things about the gladiator start for building a different playthrough. And maybe the same could be said of Davcool. I don't remember what all the bonuses do, but we could look them up again. They're fairly interesting, right? What are the Davcool bonuses right now? Yeah, but peasants aren't different. It's just a lot of really boring shit put together all at once. Would you like to have shitty brothers who have shitty morale and shitty stats all game long? No, not really. Would you like a lot of them? No, not really. Would you like every fight to be longer because there's twice as many people in there? No, not really. Like, all the things from Militia and Manhunter seem to be not things that are part of what I enjoy in this game. 20 HP, 5 to both defense, stamina recover, 5 to melee and stamina recover. Don't take morale losses from various things. Okay. How much stam recovery is it? 2. And 10 resolve. I mean, that's so many stats though, isn't it? 20 HP, 5 melee defense, 10 resolve. 2 fatigue regen. You could do arena and get it up to another 10 resolve on that. That's a lot of stat gain. I have to do like a conversion run. It would be really fun to have iron-lunged cultists with that. Actually get a fair amount of stamina regen. You could probably do some duelist builds that we couldn't do otherwise. We could probably figure out another 2-ended berserk build. We don't have a lot of those right now because of the way how strong zero stams have been. I would like to finish the zero stam build. I guess that was one thing we didn't touch on. Is there still a floating perk point in that zero stam build, which I should fucking go identify, make sure that people playing it know what the stuff they can mess around with is, which is what is it? The Fearsome was not good. Even on the Axe Brothers was just not good. So I guess it's Executioner currently listed there, but that could be something else. I don't know what we'd put there. I don't know how much I liked Steelbrow or not. My brothers were not dying to headshots, which was nice. Your duelists have iron lungs on cultists, and you never need to retake recover on them. I feel like you're probably not aggressively using your duelist enough then. I mean, like, if I have a sword duelist, sure, he doesn't need recover. But if I have a cleaver or an axe duelist, I'm using orc weapons the second I possibly fucking can. And then I'll chew through as much stamina as available. Axes get executioner, maces get crippling, sure. I mean, the problem with both crippling and executioner is they don't do anything for a lot of the fights you care about. Same problem with fearsome. How many times you have to worry about headshots TKOing your brothers? It's not TKOing. It's that the headshot wounds your brother, kills its melee defense, and then it dies like the round after that. I don't know what a cool custom start would be, and I don't want to put the thought into it, and I want to play this again on Wednesday, probably. Yes, unique hammers and maces. I don't know about you. I've never done a hammer duelist. It just seems so shit to me, but mace duelist was very good with unique hammers. So, I'm a little interested in the Davcool stuff because that would be kind of cool. I'm a little interested in doing a trading caravan start and being rich. I wish the game didn't penalize you quite as much for being rich, but it would kind of be fun to be rich and then run fucking go farm famed items through caravans. But maybe that's less fun than it sounds because it doesn't actually sound that fun when I'm describing it. Having cool brothers. Having expensive brothers with cool weapons is fun. My first watch party. No, I haven't given it much thought, Yudadiki. I got news last night that it will be another 7 to 10 days before I have my fucking internet back home. And since August 11th, and I'm getting a little annoyed about it. Hammers destroy warriors? That's interesting. penalize you for being rich. Still need backgrounds. You guys ask for pay raises. Stupid events occur. Yeah. Guns and pikes only. You do frontline pikes, it's just dumb. Alright, anyways, so we need some decisions about that. I would like suggestions in the Battle Brothers channel of the Discord for suggested starts. The ones I'm leaning towards right now are Davcool, Trading Caravan, maybe Peasant Militia. I really don't like the idea of Peasant Militia. Cave Scum Heavy Cultist run to speed it up. Well, I could use some subscribers again. We're down a little bit. This run started going better. Yeah, I'm not streaming Monday, not streaming Tuesday, so next stream will be Wednesday. I don't like the Legends mod. Why is that? Because it's an overhaul mod, not a balance mod. Anyways. Alright, chat. I think I'm out of here for today. So, thanks for being here. Thanks for hanging out. Thanks for watching. Hopefully you guys enjoyed the Gladiator run. I thought it was a pretty cool run. A lot of cool stuff happened in it. It was fun. Tried all the new campaign, all the new content stuff. It was a fun run for me. It was different. Your Sunday. Sorry, bud. But, Filthy 7 to you all. Please feel free to, suggest, starts in the Battle Brothers Discord. And I'll see you guys Wednesday. My host friend on the way out. He who is streaming. Dolphin playing Path of Exile. Alright. The man has an addiction and he understands it. So we're gonna give him a raid. Say hi to Dolphin Chemist for me. Tell him I sent you. Send him my love. I'll see you guys Wednesday.